Okay, we're live on Facebook. So welcome to this evening's Power Hour if you're watching live on Facebook. And if you're not watching, you should be, but you're not going to hear that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it's great to see you guys again. Very excited to welcome back Jane Ahern, who took a week's break last week. How was last week, Jane? I forgot to ask you.
Excellent. Yeah, it was my husband's birthday, so we had
fantastic. Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good. I'm glad you had a good time. And Nico Sporty.
Hi guys.
Nico.
It's getting warmer, which is nice. And
how hot does it get over there?
Say it again.
How hot does it get over there?
Like at lunchtime, it usually, at the moment, I think it's getting about 26, 27 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Hot. Brilliant. So you must have a lot of people outside running and stuff. Are you still on kind of really lockdown in Italy, or how's it looking there?
So you are able to move in between your region.
Yeah.
You can't cross regions yet. So the transportation is still limited. But yeah, people are outside. Almost all of the shops are. Almost everybody's back open.
Yeah.
Some not yet. Still not yet. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Excellent, fantastic. So you must have a lot of people exercising outside, which is obviously the topic of our talk tonight. So we thought from Perfect Balance it'd be great to give people a little bit of an insight into some really easy, practical things that you can do if you're sporty and you want to incorporate nutrition, you want to incorporate some lifestyle stuff, and you're struggling with your recovery after sport, which is a big area, I think, to start to talk about. But that's probably the number one area to try and understand a little bit more, because your improvement as a sports person is really going to be dictated by how often you can train. But you can't train too often because you're going to end up injured, or you're going to end up very sore from overtraining. So your nutrition and recovery strategies are really important to help you with your training, to also help you with performance, but also help you just keep up with some regular amounts of exercise. Does my shirt look weird on this thing, by the way?
Yeah, you've got like those lines, wavy lines.
It's like a
Is it striped?
texture. Yeah, it just caught it out of the corner of my eye there. It made me got me freaked out. Anyway, so if you're watching live on Facebook, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Not my shirt, but the really important subject of, if you're sporty, what do you do to complement your sport rather than just going and vegging out in front of Netflix when you come home after you run? So Nico, Jane, I know you run, don't you?
Yeah.
So,
not brilliantly, but I do.
We won't get any videos up of you then. But with Jane, is nutrition a top of your mind when you think about your running?
I try to keep it that way. Sometimes it's a matter of when can I squeeze my run in during the day.
That's a big thing, isn't it? Like, when can you squeeze this stuff in? So I think if you're sporty and you want to keep up regular exercise, it becomes almost like a bit of an obsession, doesn't it, to be able to get it into your day-to-day routine if you want to work out properly. But how do you structure your workouts?
Well, I tried to do something like a periodized strategy. So sometimes I run in the morning, and that would be a fasted cardio. What that does is sometimes when you run out of your sort of, not that you'll actually completely run out of your glycogen stores, but they start to get low, your body gets fatigued, start to go a bit slower. It brings on those other natural responses and make sure that, your calcium lipolysis and your ketone bodies are sort of switched on, and kind of, you can actually train your body to switch them on and have them be more efficient. Yeah. So sometimes I do that. However, and that's when your recovery is really important. So you sort of have to eat almost immediately after that type of run. Other than that, eating, leaving time for your food to digest, and then going for a run is what I do. And I like my carbohydrates, so I make sure that I have sort of slow releasing carbs during the day, and then sometimes go for a run later in the evening or mid-afternoon, again, depending on when I can have it. So, yeah.
Is that around your chocolate? Because I know you like chocolate, don't you? I'm going to tease you a bit now. Is that okay?
Yeah, I like chocolate, but I only have it at the weekend.
What was it? Oh, butter. Was it butter? It was butter, wasn't it? You
mentioned
butter. Is that before or after your butter?
It depends. Well, I have it not every day, but the butter isn't like part of my nutrition. I'm not like my sports nutrition.
Just something like
butter. Butter's fine. I mean, they actually sort of dairy fats have been linked to actually increasing your HDL cholesterol. So I'm not going to badmouth butter. It's better than having spreads and hydrogenated fat.
It's pretty healthy from what I've read. It's very healthy. And just the quantity of it can become a problem. If it's the only thing you have, then it's a big problem. But yeah, it's quite a good source of HDL. So
careful with your saturated fats. So that's the only thing I'd say. If you're looking to lose weight, then butter might need to come down.
Yeah. So I guess depending on what the goal is that you're trying to achieve from the exercise will probably depend on how you take on board the information that we give tonight, won't it? Because I guess if you want to lose weight or gain weight, the way that you're trying to run and how you're building in the nutrition is going to become really important, and it's going to be, you need to control those elements, right?
Yes, absolutely. And as I say, with running or cycling, it's not always necessarily about weight loss or weight gain. It could be speed, duration of exercise.
Yeah.
So things like that need to come into consideration. So things like supplements and maybe sports drinks, that have carbohydrates to keep you going. As I talked before, once your sort of glycogen stores start to get low, you're going to slow down. But if you want to keep that pace and keep going longer and further, that's when nutritional strategies and ergogenic aids can really be beneficial.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So we'll just flip slightly for a while, but thanks very much for that on nutrition. That's really helpful, I'm sure, for a lot of people out there. But Nico, in terms of your profession as an osteopath, you see a lot of people who haven't done so. I guess when you see them as an osteopath, they've broken down, haven't they? So you're helping kind of rebuild them. But what kind of advice do you give to them that's very simple stuff that they can be doing on a regular basis to help them if they're a sporty type?
Yeah. According to the type of sport, there are very common injuries, and there are very common muscle group or particular joints that they are usually overused. So very often I see these people that they are coming complaining of a particular pain, and the rest of the body is super tight. The rest of the body is it's not up to the level where it can sustain anymore the level of sport. So the very common advice that I give is if the exercise that you love, if your hobby is a strengthening exercise or is something that tightens up your body, then make sure that you balance it out with appropriate stretch. And there are, plenty of things that can be done: yoga, Pilates, stretch class, even stretch books. And then on the other hand, if I also see people who are hypermobile and perhaps they go and do yoga, and they can also injure themselves because there is too much flexibility. So on this other hand, I would advise usually counterbalance that with a little bit of strengthening exercises so that we give a little bit of stability into the joints. So this will be something very easily done. People don't need to do too much. We can start with like 5 minutes a day. I usually give stretch, how they can stretch at the desk, seated, so that people can do the stretch during their daily life, when they are at work, when they are at the dinner table, when they are watching TV, etc. So that it doesn't become too much of a burden. The second thing that I usually tend to advise, I am a fan of hot baths with Epsom salts. Epsom salts is readily available in supermarkets, online, etc. And it really gives the chance to the body to detoxify a little bit faster and to help that detoxification. Because as we work out, we are going to produce a higher level of toxins, lactic acid being one of the most known toxin out there. But we produce thousands of toxins, and we need time to detoxify our body and to get rid of these toxins. And a hot bath, a massage, Epsom salts, sometimes even an ice bath, drinking plenty of fluid, having a great nutrition, all of these things, they really help to really detoxify. The advice would be get some good quality sleep. There is a beautiful NHS website on sleep hygiene, and it talks you through quite a few very easy steps. Like, for example, how to put a sleep mode on the phone so that you don't have this blue light coming from the phone, and there is an amber light, and that stimulates areas of the body, of the brain, so that our brain starts to slow down. And so very easy stuff. But the quality of the sleep is super important for regeneration and repair. So this is what I would tell you.
Tons of advice. I've got some questions there, Nico. So Epsom salts. So what's the proposed mechanism of them working for people at home? Just really simple stuff.
How does Epsom salt works?
Yeah, because normally when you see Epsom salts, you go into Boots and I've had patients do this. You tell them to go and buy Epsom salts, and they come back with like a small box of Epsom salts that's about that size, and you say to them, "Oh no, that's not going to be enough because you need to put it in your bath." And the Epsom salts that they've got is often related to, I think it's for diarrhea, isn't it? Epsom salts, or for constipation, whichever one.
Oh yes, you can ingest as well.
Dehydration, diarrhea.
I mean, you will get usually in the supermarket. You should find a 3 kilo bag, which is quite a big bag, like so. And I think there is a dosage. I mean, every company has a different dosage, but the one that I was using was about 200 grams per 50 liters, something like this. That you basically just need to see how many liters is your bathtub, and you do the maths. But it's not particularly a problem if you put a little bit more or a little bit less.
Yeah. And how do you know how it works?
So basically, what I know, I'm not a biochemist, but I know that in contact with the Epsom salts and the water, the toxins, they are gonna be drawn. They're gonna tend to go on the outside on the skin, and then therefore to leave the body. So muscles are a little bit more superficial, they are just below the skin. And when we are detoxifying, we are going to use the organs of detoxification. One of the most important one is actually the kidneys, because the kidneys is going to filtrate all of the blood, and with it all of the toxins. For example, if we take uric acid, urea, or urine, there is basically I think N3H4, so 3 particles of nitrogen and then hydrogen. Now, nitrogen is something that we have in the air. Anyway, to make the story short, the kidneys are going to filter about 25% of the cardiac output, and they are going to filter all of the toxins there is in the blood. Wherever should not be in the blood is going to be modified and transformed into urea. And this is why this is how we are expelling it. Another organ of detoxification is actually the lungs. So all of the carbon dioxide we produce after cellular respiration is going to be expelled through our body, through the air, so as we breathe out. And then we got the skin. The skin, as we sweat, and is also a little bit porous. So when we are in contact in a bath, in a water solution filled with Epsom salts in this case, which is, I think, magnesium phosphate, magnesium actually helps the muscle to relax. When the muscle relaxes, it tends to open up a little bit. And with it, the blood vessels that they are in the muscle, they open up slightly. And therefore, the skin becomes a little bit more porous so that we can exchange certain level of toxins through the water. This is what I know, but don't quote me on that because I'm not a biochemist.
Brilliant. No, it's really useful. Jane, do you have any views on Epsom salts in terms of from a nutritional perspective, or including them in your recovery strategy?
In terms of, I mean, their magnesium content, so that would be an electrolyte that needs to be replaced after exercise. So absolutely, but I would probably go with Nico's recommendation in terms of putting them in your bath and maybe taking your electrolytes. You can take them supplementary, or just making sure you're including foods, nuts and seeds, things like that. You also want to include calcium, so dairy products or even fortified products with calcium. Potassium is another one for your important electrolytes before and after exercise. So things like bananas or coconut water, avocados. Salts, so sodium, the other important electrolyte. Usually most people have enough sodium, but if you are, wondering, you can include sort of a mixture of either sea salt or Himalayan rock salt in your diet. So that should be fine.
Yeah, that was my next question, actually. Himalayan rock salt seems to come up quite a lot now in conversation with patients. What do you think the benefits are of incorporating that? It's a dietary supplement as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it has gotten popular, but I mean, I would always say mix them up, because Himalayan rock salt doesn't, I think it has iodine in it, and but sea salt would. But I think I don't have that many sort of views on it being detrimental or that helpful, but I think it's a good idea to definitely mix them. I think they both have their own benefits in terms of diet and sort of health. But I definitely prefer myself to taste the sea salt and make sure I'm getting plenty of iodine, so that's fine.
Yeah, good stuff. Good. Are there any other things that you might do with the diet to help sporty people from an elimination perspective, to help them with because when you're exercising, there's a lot of breakdown products that occur in the body as a result of the exercise, because that's naturally how you're going to anabolize and catabolize and anabolize the body to break it down and build it back up again. And there's this kind of constant breaking down, building back up process that goes on in the body. But that leaves a lot of metabolic byproducts, doesn't it? Which are often like lactic acid being one of them, or uric acid being another one, for example. But those byproducts are quite dangerous in large doses, aren't they, in the body? So is there anything you can do from a manipulative perspective nutritionally to help improve the output of waste products from exercise?
In terms of lactic acid, I mean, when we talk about lactic acid, that is what's going to keep you going in sort of an anaerobic state. In terms of kind of decreasing the acidosis, because of the hydrogen that comes with the lactic acid, what people can sometimes do, if you're doing that really, sprinting, high power, fast sports where your body will eventually have to go into anaerobic exercise, you can maybe try buffering the acidity in the blood by taking things like bicarbonate of soda. But you need to be very careful when taking that, because it can actually cause a little bit of upset tummy, and you might end up having to, run to the loo once you cross that sprinting finish line. So this is something that comes up all the time, and it's tolerance of nutrients and ergogenic aids, or, even carbohydrates or sports drinks, things like that. It's so individualized. Some people run better with more, some people with less. And they can cause problems for some and then not for others. But yeah, if you're wanting to kind of just help the body, I mean, the kidneys will do that job really themselves, and so long as your kidneys are healthy, they should be able to handle it. But if you're finding that you're, doing repetitive exercise and your anabolic threshold isn't improving, you can use things like bicarb of soda. And some people use these kind of green shots or even spirulina, things like that.
Spirulina, yeah.
To use bicarb, but only a little amount, and do it gradually and figure out your threshold.
Yeah, because it's the stomach upset.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. It's really good. Really good. Okay, so Nico, as far as other advice that you find that you're commonly saying to sporty people, what kind of things would you say have helped your clients the most in clinic that you could help other people with?
I think for me, a game changer is always patient education, because some of the stuff is really common sense. It's really self-explanatory. But of course, people need to have a little bit of a background. I haven't got any clue what my accountant does, but I'm sure that if he goes with me through how he does, my self-assessment, eventually I will get it and I can do it myself. And this is what I try to do with my patients. I really try to spend not only once, in little chunks, but I want them to understand their body, because if they understand their body, they can prevent injuries and they will feel what the body needs. Because everybody feel like, oh, I've got a touch shoulder. Let me try to stretch it. How can I stretch it? And this for me is the investment that people that I tend to give to my clients. And then whenever they can do it themselves, or whenever they need a little bit of extra care, this is when they can come and they can see me and we can do the job together. But I really want them to be on board, because of course nobody can feel their body better than them, and I can't assume that I do, but I certainly try to understand what they feel. So patient education is really one. Then I try to give them some strategies on how they can achieve their goals. And again, some people, sometimes we are too much inside the picture. We don't recognize certain things, and very simple thing, as easy as making a diary plan for the week, and just really trying to understand, okay, when can I squeeze in a 20 minutes run in the diary so that I can plan it, and I can already anticipate myself going on a Wednesday for a run. That usually helps. Of course, life gets in the way, and it needs to be quite flexible with this, but very easy strategy on how to plan certain things, especially if you've got a family, if you've got a job, etc., etc. So this will be something else. Some nutritional advices will definitely be part of it, although I'm not a nutritionist, so if they need something more specific, I would very happily send them to Jane. And then generalize how they can improve the overall health. I often want to find out also why they like that particular sport, and if they are happy in taking the consequences that that particular sport might give. I'm not a runner. I don't necessarily like running. That's my personal opinion. But I love if people love it. So if people love it, I'm totally happy with it. But if they are running to lose weight, but they don't particularly love it, then this is when we can have a conversation and explore the option. It's like, okay, have you tried cycling? Have you tried swimming? Have you tried something else? I often give people to do hula hoops, because it's fun, and they can do it fairly quickly. And it's a great exercise for the core muscle. It's fantastic. Or roller skating, ice skating. Those are fun things. They are actually quite demanding on the body, but an hour goes away like this. You don't even realize it. And then, of course, we have people who love running. They do marathon, half marathons. To be honest, I admire them. I don't have this level of commitment, and I will try to do what I can. But it's really trying to find okay, why you like what you like. Are you happy with the kind of consequences that there might be, and really try to educate them and try to give them options to what else they can do, and try to give them strategies on what they should do in order to maintain the sport or the hobby that they like.
Sensible advice. Great. That's fantastic. So it's got to that time of the evening again, but what would you say out of everything we've talked about this evening, Jane, what would you say your top 3 pieces of advice are for anyone that's sporty, that wants to improve, or anyone that's just getting into sports on a regular basis? So there's been obviously a massive increase in people doing online classes, and we've noticed that as well with our online classes. Lots of people doing Joe Wicks, lots of people doing kind of running is a big sport that's kind of taken off now. So what would you say your top 3 tips are for people that are fitting into that category?
Well, firstly, look after yourself and your body. As Nico said, if you really feel that you have to do this in a negative way because you feel, it's important for losing weight, or getting healthier, it doesn't just mean exercising more. You have to make sure that you are still looking after your body, and that your body is not being overrun, for want of a better word. It can only take so much. So make sure you are nourishing your body and giving it everything it needs to even get through the exercise. Then secondly, the aftermath. If you're, as I said before, there's only so much your body can take. If you keep pushing it and don't allow it time to replenish, rest, recover, then you're going to just continue to run yourself into the ground and could potentially not allow certain injuries to heal properly. So do allow yourself the time after exercise to recover adequately before you start again. And what was this? Number 3. So I've said making sure that you kind of fuel for what you're doing, recover afterwards. And I really want to pick up on the point Nico was making about actually enjoying the exercise. There's, I just have to, or I have to, if I have to run or I have to hulu because I feel better afterwards, I enjoy it. It's part of my kind of recreational time to get out and be in nature and run. I don't do marathons or anything like that, but I need it. I have to do it. There's the other, because I have to, because it's healthy and I should, and it's bad if I don't. That isn't the mentality you should go into when you take on exercise. It should be enjoying, doing it. We're always going to feel a bit like, a bit tired, not sure. But if we know we like it and we love it and we feel good afterwards, then it's right. So pick the right exercise for you and know why you're really doing it, and make sure that you're giving your body what it needs to do that exercise.
That's brilliant. Very solid advice there. Fantastic. Good. Nico, what would you say your top 3 tips are for that you'd like to leave with the clients tonight?
Yeah, I agree very much to what Ken just said. On the other hand, I really ask people like thousands of questions to really try to understand what is that they like and where I can squeeze in the little bit of physical activity. If they are on the very low end of the spectrum, of course, you have people who are in love with exercise. That's great, but you also have people who don't, and we're gonna work with both. So. But my top tip would be definitely make sure that you set up realistic goals according to the level that you are at. Don't do too much too soon. And definitely make sure that you kind of listen to the body when the body needs to rest. So having an active rest, having a day that you go for a sauna, you go for a massage, you are stretching at home, you are doing a hot bath, all of these things. This is very important for recovery. So resting doesn't mean lying on the couch without doing anything at all. But it really means trying to do something for the body to recuperate faster, for the body to heal, and for the body to, just really detoxify. So this is my second tip. The third would be, many people have talked to me about the benefits of cold therapy, like cold shower, ice baths, and things like this. So it doesn't work for everyone, but it's certainly to give it a try, especially in summer. In winter, I wouldn't particularly advise it, especially for the elderly population. But in summer, usually it's all right.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. It stimulates your immune system, doesn't it? Which I guess is going to help with the recovery.
Yeah. It stimulates the limbic system of the brain as well. So it kind of releases other endorphins and, same level of hormones that exercise does. So it creates a very positive feedback loop, although it's very pleasant. But
excellent.
I grew up in Ireland. I don't like being cold.
You don't like being cold.
I don't blame you.
I had enough of it.
Excellent. I mean, Nico, I'm not sure if you remember back to your training as an osteopath, but when I trained, we had to do this thing called the Scottish douche. Do you know what the Scottish douche is, Jane?
I know.
I can only imagine.
Don't say anything. So you basically turn up, you're told to bring your swimming shorts, you stand there in your swimming shorts, you're like a bit cold anyway, because we're in the top of the exercise physiology lab. And literally, they don't tell you what's happening. I volunteered to go first in my class because I always like to be at the front, leading the way. So I volunteered to go first in the class. Idiot, absolute idiot. So I stood there hands against the wall, facing the wall, and then all of a sudden they basically get a fire hydrant with cold water, open this thing up, whoosh, and literally just paste you. So I'm like this against the wall saying, no, it's freezing, I'm freezing. Not so politely though. Yeah, that's a Scottish douche.
And they didn't tell you that they were doing this?
No.
Surely, I think nowadays that would go across. Oh, that would not be passed by the ethics committee. Definitely not now.
I basically put the whole foot with up to the ankle into a ice bucket. For 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And 25 minutes, I could not repeat it again. And when I took the foot out, my foot was red,
burned.
Red.
God.
Like powerful stuff. Hydrotherapy, very powerful. If it's done right, very, very good.
Yeah. Did you have the wrapping? Did you
No.
What was that?
It was in a water, and it was at -4 degrees. Because we were measuring the temperature, so we were adding ice up to let it drop to -4.
Yeah, it gets cold, and you put salt in the water, don't you? So that it brings the freezing point down, so that it gets really cold. It's like freezing. So one of the other things we did as trainee osteopaths in our fledgling years. So we you have to do the cold stuff, but you also have to do the hot stuff as well, Jay. And this stuff is crazy if you train to be an osteopath. So me volunteered to go again first. I thought, there's nothing that can be as bad as that. Nothing. So this time they said, right, Steve, go and lie down, close your eyes, just relax. And then what did they do? They basically mummified me. So I thought, this is cool. It's a bit strange, but I'm just lying there with my hand down at my side, and they're bandaging me up. I can't remember what's the name of it. Do you remember? It's like a big naturopathic thing, but basically, what's it called? Wrapping or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's done with one of these
Yeah, so you basically mummify the patient, and they basically you get their body so hot that these things, you can't get any temperature out of it at all. So you basically cook inside this thing, but it's supposed to be very good for helping people break the fever. Because you're basically going to do an alternate hot, you bandage them, then you take that off and make them really cold, so it brings their temperature down. And then you bandage them up again and make them really hot again. So you basically get their body to go through these extremes of homeostatic function. But it's, it was amazing.
I mean, I've done a sauna and sponge pool, but that's about it.
We've got the gym.
No way I would do anything more than that. But, no, I'm not.
Anthony Robbins.
Have
you heard of Anthony Robbins?
It does not make sense, but
he's like this very big motivational speaker in the kind of public speaking world. If you Google Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins. Tony Robbins. So he's on Netflix, and there's this program called I'm Not Your Guru, and at the beginning, he talks a lot about this kind of mental preparation that he goes through to get his body into the right state to then be able to go out on stage and present in front of these people, to be able to kind of do his kind of
he meditates, runs, and does all this sort of stuff.
So he does this really crazy stuff, but it's very interesting how have you heard of Wim Hof?
Oh yeah, the freeze himself guy.
The freeze himself, but he does this thing where he brings his breathing rate right down. So he basically brings his body temperature so low down that he doesn't need to, because the oxygen is really important for cellular function in the body. So if you can bring the temperature down of the body, you can slow down the cellular function. So your breathing rate doesn't need to kind of be high still. So you can enter into all of these things are really about entering into a parasympathetic state, which is like, it's really interesting how much this is coming into now popular science and popular medicine and mainstream like running magazines and stuff about parasympathetic state, because as you guys know, the parasympathetics are really important for rest, digest and repair and reproduction. So those four things mainly. So if you can get the body to go into that state by doing these very clever things, it then stimulates the healing process in your body to work more optimally, which I'd be quite interested to look at some of the effects of foods on digestive function, because I wonder if maybe it's not the nutritional content of the food, it's what the effect of that food is in the digestive tract that makes it more parasympathetic. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, do potatoes have a parasympathetic effect on the digestive tract?
Potatoes?
Well, I just wonder, because it's quite a stodgy carbohydrate food, isn't it? And it's very slow release, so it's not going to spike your adrenaline or your
no, that kind of sort of sleepy factor comes from eating the sort of very starchy, slow releasing. So absolutely, but I think with all foods you do need to rest afterwards. But sometimes it almost makes you feel like not well if you eat too high a starch and then perhaps have to carry on. But naturally, that's what it's encouraging you to do, is to kind of rest and relax and go into this kind of calm state. So if you are going to have, I mean, I'm all about potatoes, I think they're great. But if you're, make sure you're able to digest them and rest properly. But that goes for every meal, but particularly high starch meals.
Yeah. I do wonder if it's a very missed product of nutrition that we focus so much on the molecular construct of the food and what it does when you digest it in terms of the energy that it's providing. But I'm very interested on the effect of it on your body. So not just the kind of the metabolic breakdown product of it, so carbohydrates, fats or proteins or the micronutrients, but actually what it does to your neurological system having those things. Because I know some of the all of the neurotransmitters are produced from the digestive tract, aren't they? So I wonder if like the stimulatory neurotransmitters have come from, I don't know where they come from in the diet. I need to do some more research on this, but just very interested with it. Taurine, for example, in Red Bull, that's a stimulant, isn't it? One of the amino acids. Yeah.
Taurine. Yeah, I mean, there's not that much evidence behind it. You know, this is what bothers me sometimes with research, and even what you were talking about there, about we concentrate so much on the energy content and we'll be careful of this and be careful of that. And even how we structure, how we measure the units of energy isn't that correct. And most people will know that, depending on kind of your net and net intake and what else is in there and what that actually does in the body, it probably would be equivalent. So people go for these, products that, oh, it's got this in, so it's good, or, oh, it's a diet. And they're looking at something that's very unnatural and contains emulsifiers and chemicals and things that can cause things like inflammation and inhibit vitamin C absorption, and therefore might impact your immune function because of white blood cell production. But it has less calories than something that's really natural. But really, the net is different in terms of maybe there's more fiber in this, or more protein, or more slow releasing carbohydrates, and it's pure. And that's what I try most of all with people, is to kind of get home that fact of, don't take it at face value, this whole energy. Think about the food. Is it pure? What can it do for you? What's it going to help and work within the body, rather than, okay, this has less calories, but is it going to have a worse impact internally?
Yeah. No, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Topic for another day.
Yeah. So another thing we did was we had to do a week's fast. So me being me, decided that we've got to do a week's fast. Everyone else kind of tapered down, had a day of water, and then slowly built back up. I just thought, well, if you're going to do it, you need to do it properly, right? If you're going to fast, just don't eat anything for a week. And that was a bad idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bad idea.
Any multivitamin or anything with it? Just straight fasting?
Yeah, I just decided it would be good just to do water for a whole week. And I did it because I think if you set your mind on something, you can definitely achieve it. Probably wasn't the most sensible thing to do. It wasn't so much when you're doing it, it's the effect afterwards. and it really does mess you up afterwards if you just go cold turkey like that, and then try and it's not so much like a couple of weeks after, it's like immediately after when you try and reintroduce the food again. There's a big problem there that you kind of, I don't know why I did it. It's just one of those, I think I was very testosterone driven, very competitive. I'm still a bit competitive now, you know what I mean? But not competitive like I was when I was in my 20s. But it's, it's interesting.
So what was the effect afterwards? What did you, because I've done a 9-day fast.
Complete fast?
No, see, I had a multivitamin.
Right.
And a psyllium husk-based kind of powder. Yeah. So I like to test things out on myself in terms of nutritional things to come out. So that's what I was doing. But I had to fast for 9 days apart from this. The psyllium husk thing is, if you've ever had the powders, are quite filling and they make you feel like full, so it wasn't too bad. But I didn't notice anything afterwards in terms of going back on food. It was fine. But I've never done the cold turkey water.
Yeah, it's just difficult.
It's that healthy.
I think it was difficult reintroducing the food because you just didn't feel like you wanted to eat anymore. You kind of lost the appetite for it. So you had to introduce it, and then it was let's just say it was interesting what happens. But yeah, if you fancy going on a fast, then please do it gradually. It's a bit safer that way.
Get some advice, and
definitely get some advice.
Yeah.
So the reason why we had to do all these things was literally to experience what it would be like as a patient to just be told, like, this is what we're going to do, go and do it, and not giving all of the advice. So it was all done in a very controlled way, and I think it was really interesting to see what you'd naturally go and do if you were told to do this based on your personality type. So yeah, it's interesting. But good. We had some great teachers. We learned I think we were talking about Gerson therapy, which is a cancer therapy, where we talk about like really reducing like a lot of the nutrients into the body, and like going through a juicing stage and going down to almost nothing entirely to basically starve the cancer, to allow your body to get to a state where it wasn't feeding like tissue that wasn't healthy. So your body goes into self-preservation mode. It's said to get rid of the cancer, or at least reduce it, and then be able to, once you've got it under control, you'll be able to build it back up. But like highly sensitive subject to talk about for sure. But it's just interesting that there's so much stuff out there around that. Very interesting. Yeah. We'll save that for another day. Maybe not on Facebook though. We'll get shot down by advertising standards. Anyway, it's been great talking to you guys. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It's been great.
Bye-bye from me.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you all later.